Today we are joined by Dr. Robert Morse, who is a board-certified and accredited naturopathic physician, a biochemist, and a herbalist. He is the founder of a naturopathic clinic, a herb pharmacy, and a school of detoxification. We'll be discussing alternative health to live a healthier and ultimately happier life. Also, on our side, for strategies to preserve and grow your wealth ahead of the Great Reset and increase your privacy, visit cryptonymouseconsulting.com/members. Our basic subscription is as little as $10 per month. So, that is very little really in regards to inflation currently. So, a lot of information comes out of there. We have newsletters, live webinars with our experts, trade calls, and current investments that we're looking at. So please check that out. And just avoid getting destroyed by the coming economic collapse. So Rob, thanks for joining. How's it going?
Oh, superb. Busy, crazy, just at the world at large, just like you said, survival, helping people to survive in their health issues, but also in their spiritual issues.
Yeah, and I think health is a massive topic for the last couple of years. So this is obviously quite relevant. And a lot of people would want to hear your thoughts on not really the problem, but solutions on how to be healthier and to raise that vibration like you're into as well. So it'll be interesting to get your thoughts on that. So I guess let's go straight in. I think the first thing we want to sort of talk about is your story, because how did you even get into this space? Everyone who's in this space has an interesting story to tell, I'm sure. So just go through, I guess, how you got to where you are now.
Yeah. Well, I was a young lad, 20 years old. I was building my first house. I wanted to build a house by myself, by hand. And so at that time, I was I've always been interested in the alone state, not realizing what that meant. I've always interested in that which is the unknown, right? And so I would always push myself in hikes and things to go deep into forests and stuff like that. So I decided to let it all go and go out to live in the woods. And that's what I did. I lived in the woods in a Volkswagen van and just ate fruit. I got some books from friends about raw foods and took off from there. At the same time, someone threw down an Eckankar book on Twitchell's book on, I think it was either In My Soul I'm Free or The Tiger's Fang. I think it was The Tiger's Fang. And it was a description of all the God worlds, how this level of creation is put together. And I'm thinking, heck, man, absolutely. If you have to leave your body when you die, why can't you leave your body before that? I mean, what's keeping you into the body? And of course, you're not the body. And so that started a journey of out-of-body travels and, a lot of years of traveling and teaching how to have out-of-body travel. And suddenly this voice came into my beingness out of nowhere, said, who's the traveler, my friend? Who's the traveler? And so that started me on the journey of awakening. And I got a hold of J. Krishnamurti's stuff, which is an excellent author in teaching you how to stop thinking. The whole thing is the mind. The mind obviously creates creation. It is the split of duality, from consciousness to duality. And you have to understand that and how the mind works, and that it's simply a computer. And if you live in your mind, you're living from thought to thought to thought. And that is an extremely restricted lifestyle because you can't see anything around you and in you. So wakening up is vital, for those that are ready for that. For others, they're going to keep spinning.
Keep spinning until the next time.
Yeah. Well, you know what? We create everything. Everything in your life, you create yourself.
Yeah.
Realize it or not, somewhere along your journey in creation, you created this and you're now experiencing it. So like Buddha said, let go. Who cares anymore? Sit under the tree for 20 years and go, well, you know what? I'm done sitting under a tree for 20 years. So it's just a process of waking up. But that process is the mind. You have to learn that thoughts are just your activity in creation.
Yeah, and I had that same experience going into the forests or going for walks into nature. It kind of allows you to switch off your mind just to take in the scenery, right? And I think that's a massive thing that someone can include in their lives, to actually just spend an hour or even half an hour just going into nature at some point in your day. Because being constantly online or constantly on in the city, even if you're in the city, there are parks. I know it's not as easy, but there are options, and definitely take advantage of that, because I know that changed everything for me, and I'm sure, and also you, Rob. So, so I guess let's move to health, and obviously I've been following your YouTube channel. What foods do you sort of promote for health? What sort of diets? I guess we don't need to call it diet, but what sort of foods do you promote? And I guess why as well? Why are they promoted, and what effects do the other options, let's say, affect if you do intake those?
Yeah, back when I got started on raw foods, I got a hold of the natural hygienic material, Herbert Shelton and all that. And there was a fasting clinic, Shelton fasting clinic, just about 30 miles away from me. So I would go there, and a naturopath ran it, of course. And there you fasted for however long it took to change the coating on your tongue, so to speak. So there was a lot into the raw foods, but then there was one or two outstanding authors about fruitarianism. And I just sucked that right up, because we are frugivores as a Homo sapien. So when I became a doctorate and all that, and started going down the road and writing books and things, and I brought in the comparative difference of the four basic vertebrates. Take a look at the difference between a frugivore, a herbivore, an omnivore, and a carnivore. And they're distinctly different, and for obvious reasons. Their jaws move different. Some have paws, hooves. You got a whole line of things. And I took all this work to two veterinarians and said, prove me wrong. And the female came back and said, can I add beaks to omnivores? I said, I forgot the beaks. But looking at the different species, it's obvious that we're frugivores. We do not handle other foods well. So to that point, I've got a site called Dr Morse TV. On that site is a video we did on tissue regeneration. And I have a lot of different stories there. Take a look at what I did on just fruit and regenerating a toe, regenerating neurological conditions, regenerating a young lad who had his brain smashed, and a lot of broken body parts. And what we did just with the fruit diet and using some botanicals on the side. So the power of the fruit is very important to understand. And man doesn't understand that. He's lost in sugars and proteins and just crap like that. Doesn't understand anything. Medical is not about health anyway. And they're stumbling on their own ignorance when they try to tell anybody what to eat. They have no clue about health, vibration, energy, not just nutrition. There's, bottom line is magnetic energy and stuff like that, consciousness. And that's of the food you're eating, of the chemistry you're consuming. So there's a lot of unawareness around fruit, fructose, glucose, simple sugars of life. There's just a lot of confusion, and everybody's loading up on protein. Well, goodbye kidneys and goodbye bowels. So it's just a lot of misunderstanding. And you move to a place where you can have nirvana right there. You got fruit all over the place. I went on strictly oranges. I found a grove of navel oranges that were obviously a little help from the outer worlds. These were unbelievable. They were as big as grapefruits. And to eat one, you would go almost into ecstasy. It was that incredible. And I lived on them for almost a year, exclusively, nothing else.
Exclusively on oranges, basically.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, man, I couldn't. But the problem with that is that the energy, if you're an out-of-body traveler, the energy can be so intense, you just can't. You don't sleep, and you can't stay in the physical body. So I had to actually come out and ground. I had to come out and eat vegetables and stuff like that. And my body hurt a long time to get used to it, but it finally got used to it. It helped me to stay grounded here.
Some arguments, I want to get your opinion on this, because even some guys in the alternative health space, they eat a variety of food, including being carnivores, let's say, and they promote organic. But what are your thoughts on the fact that, because they basically have stated, there's been an argument out there that, people can't last on vegan diets because they're, or fruitarian, let's say, because they become weak and they get, they actually need to have protein. Yes. Or what's your thoughts on that? Because I know you have some opinion.
Sure, definitely. That's far from true. Some of the things people don't understand is that when you start going on a raw food diet, you're eliminating stimulants. You're eliminating a huge part of acid ash foods, which act as stimulants. So you go from being dehydrated and acidified to being hydrated and alkalized. So you're moving from a cationic state, a state of, like I said, dehydration and things where the body's stiff and tight and full of water and stuff, to a hydrated, energetic level. And you can get your body to some of these levels where the energy is so powerful that you can't fatigue yourself. For those that do get fatigued, there's a problem. And that problem is called mature adrenal glands. And most people have at least subacute, and I would say at least 70% of humans have chronic adrenal glands. Well, that's your neurotransmitters for the autonomic. And so when you go on a non-stimulating, non-mucus forming diet, a living food electrical diet, all these stimulants are then eliminated. And these stimulants are called acids or proteins. And the body starts eliminating these. But then everything goes down. You lose that edemic stimulation and everything, and you can get really fatigued. Has nothing to do with the diet you're on whatsoever. It has to do with your genetic stance of your adrenal glands and or pituitary. So there's a lot people don't understand when you're driving your car down the road to health that your body's going to go through to get there. And the biggest issue is elimination and what the body has to eliminate. And so you're going to go through things. And then that is the genetic stance of the thyroid or the adrenals, but whatever tissues you're talking about. You've got to look at the genetic awareness of those tissues and what level are they functioning, because cells are structure function. So in that process of getting well, people can look down. Vegetarianism, all those things are kind of jokes in the sense that you're still eating grains, you're still eating beans, you're still eating high proteins, and got to get away from the proteins. We are not a high protein species. And besides, wrong word, use amino acids. And when you look at the fruit, the structure of a fruit is fairly simple, has full of amino acids for the Homo sapiens structure. When you get into your vegetables are not for humans. Take a look at the herbivores. You've got elephants, you've got horses. We raise horses. We have farmers, of course. We had horses all over the place. Cows, elephants, all these animals. They have huge muscles. So they need more amino acids. Well, vegetables do have more amino acids. But giving someone that doesn't need more amino acids, now you bring in the factor of acidification. And that's where you run into problems. When you compact amino acids, now you're into your protein structures, and your body has to tear those apart before they can even use them. So there's a lot to understand when you're looking at health. There's a lot of misinformation out there and lies that are probably industry, the marketplace, Yeah,
and I've noticed that over the last 10 years, probably longer actually, like they do promote a lot of protein out in the stores, and they'll have chocolate with protein and stuff.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and it kind of makes you think.
And mother's milk doesn't even show you that. You don't have any place in nature showing you that. Not even in human mother's milk. Not even in herbivore mother's milk. So they're way off point.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I guess moving to, what sort of detox and fasting protocols can people do? I know this is something that people do quite often now, is sort of detox and do this for a short period of time. I mean, what do you think of sort of water fasts? And I know you promote grape juice fasts as well. What's your sort of protocols that you swear by and what you promote?
All right, so it depends on a couple of things. First of all, it depends upon the individual, obviously, and where they're at in their health issues. If I'm facing a female with 5 babies that's got tumors all through her, she's going on a grape diet like yesterday. because it is the most electrical, the most hydrating, and it has an imbalance of astringents. And that's key factor. Generally, people years ago would go on like the Stanley Burroughs lemon juice diet, the master cleanser diet, so to speak. Pretty acidic, pretty strong, especially with someone highly depleted. So the grape is the most electrical, in my opinion, with that, without the high acids like the lemons and some of the grapefruits and stuff. Even though those acids all develop into an alkaline chyme, it's still, hard on the mouth and stuff. Outside of that, water fasting, if I've got a tumor, here's the gig. You have to understand a system that no one understands on this planet except us. I hate to say don't mean to be narcissistic. This is the great lymphatic system. You don't understand that system. You think there's diseases. You think there's microbial problems. You live in the world of allopathy, which doesn't know anything about anything. So they made up this idea of diseases. And of course, that Rockefeller germinating that theory. And then the germ theory, of course, which is ridiculous. That shows you more of what you don't understand about nature and bacterium and fungus and stuff like this, and what their journey is. So you have to understand a lot more about what nature is and what it does and what it supplies. Medical is just lost in the mind somewhere in academics that they've gotten lost. They've lost their basic foundation of the two sides of chemistry. And you got to understand the nature of chemistry, or you don't understand squat. And then you have to understand, how does your body deal with each side of chemistry? And understanding that leads you into blood and lymph. Blood is the kitchen, lymphatic is your sewer system, immune system. A lot of people think your blood is your immune system. No. Your sewer system, your lymphatic system is your main immune system. And that you have to understand, and that's tied to the kidneys. Your kidneys and your skin are your eliminative organs for cellular waste from 100 trillion cells. The one thing the medical doctors can't answer you is how the body eliminates metabolic acids or waste. How do you get rid of cellular waste? You don't dump them in the blood. Don't go that way. That can't do that. You're dead in a minute. So how does the body do that? And they keep looking at this system, the lymphatic system, and they just keep going over it. Even the top scientists, where I was attending this international lymphatic symposium, and it just stupid stuff. Understand your kidneys are major players. Your right kidney drains your right side of your body, your left kidney the left side. Now you can have one kidney not filtering like the other one. You have tumors on one side, the other side real good. All kinds of problems like that. So filtration, pee in a jar, look at your urine. If it's clear, you're in trouble. Nobody uses the bathroom and expects to see clear water coming out of the sewer pipes. Wow.
Because in my sort of opinion, it was like, if you pee clear, you've drunk a good amount of water and you're already clear. So go into that a bit more, I guess. I guess go into that a bit more and how that changes things.
Asked me about my journey. So, living in a Volkswagen van, you don't have any room. So when you got to pee, I had a little jar, of course, and there was a little sink thing in this Volkswagen van. And so I'd set the jar up on the sink and, not think much about it, get up in the morning, and I'd see the sediment on the bottom of my urine. I go, oh man, I got some stuff out. I didn't think, medically that urine should be clear, because that's wrong. But I didn't even think about it because I didn't know anything about that. And each day I'd look at it and I'd test about how deep am I cleaning out of my body from how much sediment I would see in there. Well, later on, I got my doctorate in biochemistry and all that. I'm starting to look at blood work, urinalysis, and I'm looking at all this. And I keep seeing all these urinalysis clear. And I'm going, clear? Your urine shouldn't be clear. And as that time went on, it just dawned on me just where the problem is in man's lack of understanding of how the body eliminates this. And of course, that leads you into the skin, the integumentary system, that gigantic system, and then into the thyroid for that and the adrenals for the kidneys. So now you're into the endos that deal with the organs, and now you're into a system of elimination. as you have a system of consumption and electrification, and where you get your ATP, ADP, AMP, all those beautiful things, you also have a system to get rid of waste. So when you look at cells interstitially around a cell, you have about 80% lymph fluid to about 20% blood.
Wow. It's definitely something for you guys to do your own research on, and then definitely check out Dr. Robert Morse's stuff to look into that a bit more deeper. So yeah, definitely do your own research, obviously, but it's interesting. It's definitely interesting to hear that. That's new for me as well. So I'll definitely do some research on that.
Yeah, vital, because if I'm facing someone with tumors and I've got kidneys not filtering, those tumors are not going anywhere but growing, because the body keeps metabolizing and it can't get rid of its waste, so it pockets it. Once you get the kidneys filtered, boom, there goes the tumor. Gone.
Wow. Very interesting. Very interesting. We touched upon germ theory versus terrain. Well, we didn't mention terrain, but for those out there who maybe don't understand or haven't heard of these theories before, just touch upon, I guess, the difference. And, obviously germ theory is what is in the mainstream accepted. So yeah, just go into the alternative and I guess compare the two and what your thoughts are.
People are afraid of bacterium and all types. There's no question there's worms, flukes, all kinds of things that people get in them, we get out of them, and some people have tapeworms in them and pinworms and hookworms and crap like that. So, we do things like that, but nature has to keep itself clean. You have several laws in nature that are important to understand. One of them is that the strong survive, the weak are consumed. And this is true cellularly. Okay, so when you look in the body, when the cell is weakened or damaged, it's through the lymph system that damages it. Blood can't damage the cell unless it stops going to one. The only thing that can damage a cell is acids on the acid side of chemistry. When you look in the physiology of the body, and that is dumped into the lymphatic system. So when the lymphatic system becomes stagnant, the blowback is called inflammation. When it's intracellular, that's when you start to see the mutation of the cell. Well, then you have immune cells taking it out of tissue to the lymph nodes, where then you have the macrophages. But then you have one other thing in your lymph nodes that's vital, and that's called bacterium. Bacterium break down these 3 pH cellular acids. When you feel pain, you're feeling a Coca-Cola 3 pH, whether it's in your joint or liver or wherever it is. All these acids that you're feeling when you feel pain or arthritis or whatever, that's 3 pH. And so the bacteria in your lymph nodes, all these wastes are supposed to go to the lymph nodes. Bacteria break them up or down, however you want to look at it, to 6 or so. That way you're not on your knees peeing. Those that have taken a lot of antibiotics, of course, have systemic acidosis big time. So then you're in the RAs, the lupuses, the Lymes, and they start blaming everything else, ticks and everything else, on systemic acidosis. When in fact, they've contributed big time. Taking antibiotics, that's not the way to do that. And if you have a tear in your skin and your lymphatic system's backed up, food, because your bacterium is there to break down waste. We live in a created universe. And this universe is a Lego universe, but Legos are called atoms. So we need atoms for anything. If someone gets pregnant, a lady gets pregnant out there and wants to have a baby, where do you get the atoms to make your baby from? It doesn't come out of thin air. How do you get the liver or the pancreas to grow? Where do you get the atoms for all of this? We live in a created universe, so all the atoms are here that's ever been here. So what's up with that? So then that's why you see birth, life, and death. That's where you see things that have to come and go. And that's because we need those atoms for new things that are coming. But it's also why you see the destruction of important things that we need. But you got to learn the balance of that. Man has no clue of how this world works because religions have stifled his awareness, hers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So touching on those issues that people have, what protocols and what have you sort of seen, and what cures have you? What people have you helped, and in what certain issues, and how has How have you even done that, and what results have you seen?
I'll back it up backwards for you. There's nothing we haven't cured. There isn't anybody that can't cure themselves, even of genetic weaknesses. When we do genetic remembering, your body does that. And it's understanding that when you're consuming food, you're consuming living consciousness. And there's a lot more than just nutrition that the body's getting out of this food. Man doesn't get that yet because he hasn't developed his awareness to understand that plants have a mind and have emotions. Anything that exists physically has to come down through these realms. And they take on these bodies just like humans do. And so even if you have an entity at your doorstep that doesn't have a physical body to it or appearance of that, you have the same body that entity does. You just don't know it. And so you can't have fear when some of these things come about. So I forget where I was, but can't fear microbes. Now, here's another problem I want to say real quick on the microbe thing. Fungus. So many people are full of fungus. And that's because we ferment. People combine their foods wrong. If you eat protein and starch at the same meal, no, that's wrong. You're going to break your digestion. Fast digesting foods, let's say watermelon on top of oatmeal or watermelon, even on top of a salad, you're going to fermentation of sugars. The average human is an alcoholic. People don't realize that, but the average human is an alcoholic by way of his diet. I got so many cases to show you where people were actually arrested after they ate this way for DUIs. And so the problem is that when you do this, then you invite the fungal community in. Plus, on top of that, we like fungal foods. We like fermented foods. We like cheeses, breads, beer, all this thing. So people bitch about having bodies full of fungus, which leaves uric acid, by the way. It's just a never-ending cycle. So to get rid of that, you have to also look at the way you eat, the combinations you're eating, and your adrenal glands. Are you metabolizing your sugars? Because if you're not metabolizing sugars, these guys will be happy to help.
Sure. I mean, I guess going back to the previous question, what like issues and diseases, or what issues, let's say, have you killed with what protocols?
Okay, so I'll give it out there to you guys. If you do a fruit in the morning, a salad at lunch, and a fruit at night, and you go on an herbal program that addresses your kidneys, your lymphatic system, getting up your endocrine glands, cleaning up your GI tract, you could probably cure almost anything except neurologicals.
Right.
When it comes to neurological weaknesses like MS, Parkinson's, Lou Gehrig's, you have to be 100% fruit. And I don't think I've ever failed to cure any of those cases. We have a couple of Parkinson's cases that they're on cinnamon and just worse than cocaine. Difficult for them to break this. But outside of that, Lou Gehrig's, I've never failed on a Lou Gehrig's case. Matter of fact, there's a couple of them up on that our TV site show you. But the issue is electrical, and I'll give you one case. And this was an MS case. She's highly advanced, prone stiff. Matter of fact, an ambulance brought her to my clinic. Stiff, solid, And so MS. So I put her just on fruit and herbs, of course, to get in and open that up. And in 2.5 months, she's sitting up, she's wheeling herself, and she's feeding herself because she had a full-time caregiver. So then I'm saying, honey, you're so thin. I got to put some muscle on you. And of course, I'm thinking of amino acids. I work with Mr. Olympia, and I also have a lot of trainers of Mr. Olympia. So we work with bodybuilders. And so I'm saying, I got to get some greens in you. Because I'm going to try to build some muscle fairly quick so she can, wrong thinking. So when I put her on greens, guess what happened to her? She couldn't move anymore. She went back to being prone and stiff again. And so I realized the difference of angstroms, or the difference of electromagnetic energy anyway, of a fruit versus a vegetable is huge. So there's about 4,000 electrical units, if you want, whatever you want to call it, difference between a living vegetable and a living fruit. 4,000, I'll call it angstroms, even though it's not accurate. That is a tremendous amount that's almost as much as some humans operate. So it's a tremendous difference of electromagnetic energy into your two nervous systems. And that is a big deal because it is electrical, but it's also conscious electrical. And so then you start rebuilding the myelin sheaths, you start working on the endocrine glands, and then people get up and walk. And we do that all the time. Matter of fact, we had give you a case of a guy's parachute didn't open, hit the water at about 80, 85, pretty broken up quad out of that. He's now running and have a great life. So these type of cases are all over the world like that. But you can regenerate anything. For the medical doctor, can't regenerate nothing because that's wrong thinking. If you don't understand what causes something, then how do you know how to fix it?
This is always the argument.
Throw crap in there and see if it'll stick on the wall. And that's what pharmaceuticals are. Deadly or very injuring crap that might stick on the wall temporarily, but it all falls off.
Yeah, that's the overriding thing. It seems like there's just a common knowledge of, it seems like the doctors and medical industry just patch over. Mm-hmm. They don't actually solve the actual root cause because they don't know where that is or where it comes from. They just patch over.
That's because their minds are trained. Remember, the mind is your computer. It's trained to look at life through the window of diseases, which is a fallacy. And that's why you have to be careful who's controlling your mind. Yeah. And that's why break the thought and get to awareness. And then you can control who controls your mind.
Yeah, because not many people question what they study. Like they just say, okay, they've gone through 7 years of medical school. They must know, everything, right?
Yeah.
But no one questions the books and the information they read.
Oh, no. And and the A&P books are so much wrong information in A&P books. Matter of fact, the one I have here is taught right now at major universities, medical universities. And it says there's no lymphatic system in the brain. Absolutely none. And the University of West Virginia found 2 of them here about 4 years ago. So there's so much misinformation. But if you did discover the lymphatic system, what is it? What is it there for? One medical doctor finally said when he read that about the lymphatic system, he said, finally, we're trying to understand how the body gets rid of metabolitic waste. And that's the only intelligent conversation I've ever heard come out of any medical doctor related to the lymphatic system. Like we were talking earlier, some of these symposiums of the lymphatic system are ridiculous medically. They now can, this one lady researcher can now remove a lymph node out of a healthy area into where they removed a lymph node before that's highly lymphedemic. They're working on doing that. Yeah. And I'm thinking, how stupid is this lady? All this money, she's going to take a lymph node out of other tissue. Now, a lymph node is a septic tank. And if you know what a septic tank is, that's where your sewage goes into from your house. And each lymph node feeds a lot of houses. So there's a lot of cells in your body. For example, under your arm, your lymph node bed, your axillary lymph node bed feeds your breasts, your chest area, and your lungs. Get that messed up, and guess what you get? Tumors in your lungs and tumors in your breast. So it's just understanding this whole, lymphatic system and the fact that it's something they just don't understand and that we do. And that's what makes naturopaths. But not all naturopaths understand it either. Mm-hmm. It's just something I brought out so many years ago. And all of you students have been following me for years at our classes and stuff. You're using those techniques and curing people. It's amazing. We have housewives that had to quit being housewives and go open up healing centers because they were healing so many people. Don't think simplicity. Simplicity is how you get to complexity. Complexity can get you lost.
Yeah, and
it's simple, sweetheart.
Yeah, and also going back to, you mentioned under the armpit, right? And people are spraying them up with all sorts of chemicals, right? And I found that out 3 years ago too. So, now I don't use anything. I use natural, and I have to see what the ingredients are in them, or lemon or whatever, just to have that, not use these sort of these chemicals under there, because it's like you said, there is important cells and important, like you said, lymph nodes under there. So there's always a reason for everything.
The thing is, if you stink, you got to detoxify yourself. You got too much protein in you. You're eating dead animals or whatever, but you don't want to stink. You don't need underarm deodorant. If you do, you're too toxic. You got to move your lymph system, because the seriousness of this is once these lymph nodes get hardened, you're in trouble in the tissues, all in the chest area, and like I said, in the lung area. And, fair warning, this lymph system is serious. Blood will kill you right off, right? Lymphatics will kill you slowly and very painfully. So it's just understanding a sewer system and how that sewer system uses the kidneys and the skin as their eliminative organs, or you'll see it ooze out in your skin and you'll get psoriasis, eczema, all kinds of stuff. If your skin can't eliminate, take a look at what you get from that. I'll give you an example. If you have a little baby, you just come from the hospital, you're a little infant, and everything, and you're just learning how to change diapers and everything, you forget to change the diaper in a timely manner. So then you take the diaper off, oh my God, there's a what? A red rash. What side of chemistry created that? And that's from urine. Okay, so you have to understand acids have to get out of the body or they burn back. Acids burn you. Here's a good example. Any lady with endometriosis has to be careful, because in surgeries, the lymph was so acidic it welded the uterus to the bowel walls. That's common. So these acids are very serious and they're burning a lot of people up. And that's just the nature of the beast. So to stop that, you have to get on the other side of chemistry. And foods are divided up into two categories, either alkaline forming, which is hydrating, electrical. That's your fruits, berries, melons, and your vegetables. Everybody else, pretty much, you can argue quinoa and millet, but everything else, every grain, bean, dead animal, pasteurized dairy products are on the acid side of chemistry. They steal your electrolytes. They steal your energy. They don't give you energy. So when your diet is predominantly meat, potatoes, and breads, or whatever, I don't know how people have energy, because none of that has energy to give you back. And getting it to ATP is, much more difficult.
So what, with all that being said, we've got guys here who are listening, I'm sure, that I guess live, let's say, in quote unquote normal diets, let's say. What first step can they take to maybe move into this type of health? The first thing I would do, my friend, is I would go to a break fast from the night before and change it to all fruit. Change that first. Then your nightly meal. You don't want to go to bed with dead animal tissue and all that crap in your gut. So your nightly meal should probably be either a salad. We recommend a fruit meal. Now, your lunch, you can have a salad. You could have a salad, a piece of fish on it, a piece of chicken if you're a meat eater. If not, have steamed vegetables or some cooked vegetables on the side. You can get your cooked in there if you want it, and then still have a nice salad. Dressings, don't use anything creamy and milky. Mm-hmm. If you don't want mucus in your sinuses and your lungs, don't do milk and creams and yogurts and stuff like that. They're all mucus forming, extremely. So you can start out that way. If you want to dig in, then do that for a couple of weeks. Look at what Dr. Oz did. Dr. Oz, a medical doctor, he took 12 people to the zoo and let them eat what he called monkey food, which monkey food is fruits. However, they had vegetables and stuff like that. And so all their stats, their high blood pressures came down, their cholesterols came down, all that in 2 weeks. Big time obvious. Now, take it a step further and get rid of the vegetables, and you're off onto a major detox. It's not that your body doing it. You're giving it the power, you're giving it the astringent, you're giving it all the chemistry, the flavonoid, everything it needs to then detoxify itself. And brother, hang on, because your sinuses are going to dump your mucus out of your lungs. You're going to cough that up. You're going to see mucus in your stools coming out of the bowel walls. You're going to see a lot coming out of you. Tumors are going to start going down, things like that. Interesting, because people would be, let's say, scared to start this type of diet because they may think that either, maybe if you're doing training and stuff and you're a fitness guy, you're not getting enough calorie, or you're not getting enough. I know we mentioned protein, but sure. You've worked with people who do fitness and then into that sort of thing, and it works for them. It works for them pretty well.
You know, I have he's an ex-pro, an ex-Mr. Olympia, and he's writing a book on the industry of bodybuilding, and it's hair-raising to know what all is going on in that industry, to be honest with you. The big problem in that industry is RA, the arthritises, the loss of connective tissue, blowing rectums, losing muscles, things like that. The problem with that is proteins again. You cannot pump proteins and keep your kidneys and keep the body away from acidosis. You can't do it. So you've got to go to amino acid blends, which is your greens. So I have powdered green blends for these guys that have, alfalfa, your spinaches and stuff like this, but still a little fruit and a few little things. I use a couple of little things like velvet antler in the top bodybuilders, stuff like that, to strengthen. Because one of the hardest things, if you build muscle with protein, easy to go away. And then, of course, you're acidifying, you lose your kidneys, then your lymph system comes backing up. And then everything, you start getting the RAs, rheumatoid arthritis. And you just see tons of bodybuilders with the joints out to here. I've got a ton of them that used to come to my clinic. And you can't do it that way. And I've been preaching this for 50 years. You cannot use proteins to build yourself up. Got to use amino acids. But then again, it all depends on your activity level and what you want. You can make your physical body do anything you want. If you want pure energy, however, get away from thinking of calories and muscles, things like this. Go into just a frugivorish diet and hang on. After the body gets through cleaning itself, the adrenals start rebuilding itself. Hang on, because your energy levels are going to shoot the moon. And we've got athletes right now breaking records. It's just amazing. When you remove the obstructions to the flow of energy, imagine what that means. And you have 3 flows of energy in the human body: blood, nerve, and lymph. Get those flows of energy at their optimum, and you can't believe what the human can do.
Just like Nikola Tesla said, we're all energy, right?
Absolutely, pure energy.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you very much, Rob. I mean,
you're welcome.
Thank you very much for all that. I think it's some really great, valuable information for the listeners out there.
Thanks for inviting me on.
Thank you. I mean, where can people find your work? Where can people go and visit your stuff and learn more?
Okay, so we've got Dr Morse TV. And of course, we're on all the channels, although YouTube's I think I'm a shadow guy on YouTube now.
Yeah.
I talk about vaccine. I talk about the truth.
Yeah.
And they, of course, where we're in. And then I have a clinic here, Dr. Morse Detox Center. And so they can go, even our main website is Dr. Morse Herbal Health Club. And in that, you've got the herbs, you've got all kinds of things there. And have fun with this. Learn about your kidneys. We got free, everything's free. I've been teaching classes for 35 years, and I've been helping people for 50-something.
Yeah.
So have fun.
Great experience. I'll definitely include everything in the show notes for sure for everyone to check out. So definitely do that. So I guess make sure you guys subscribe and share the podcast on Spotify. Plus, obviously, if you wanted to check out the Cryptonymous Consulting in regards to saving your wealth during the Great Reset from the banks that are inevitably collapsing, check it out, cryptonymous.consulting.com/members, which will have all the details in regards to joining us. We obviously aim to help you grow and preserve that wealth as well. Again, I'll add all the stuff there from Dr. Robert Morse in the show notes, so definitely check that out. And great stuff, Dr. Robert. And peace and love to you all. Thanks for listening.